So, hello and welcome to this. Anybody needs to be told that times are tough. And that's the reality. It's not rhetoric at all. Funding to councils has been slashed to support the NHS in Wales, and we don't have any problem with that. We're sure that they'll use it very wisely. But local government has suffered some £900 million worth of cuts, or will do during that period. And obviously that's going to have an impact on the delivery of services throughout the coming years. So there is a severe and deteriorating outlook, and unfortunately we don't know what the extent of the cuts are going to be in the next couple of years, as no indications have come through from Welsh Government. So we need to find ways of delivering public services with less money, something we've been doing for a long time, but we need to get better at it. We need to make huge savings, 5.8 million for 15-16, another 10 million over the next 3 years, and that's on top of the 20 million that we've managed to find since 2011-12. And we would like to have ideas from members of the public as to the thoughts that you might have. We're always welcoming any suggestions that anybody's had, because in the last session for the previous year's budget, we got a usable number of ideas. Monmouthshire suffers from the lowest funding from any council in Wales. You'll see from the slide that's in front of you that on the right-hand side, Monmouthshire gets just over £1,000 per person to run its services, as opposed to, shall we say, Blaenau Gwent, the other end of the scale, that gets some £560 more. And we also have a lower rate of council tax than a lot of our neighbouring authorities. In fact, our council tax on a Band E dwelling is exactly the average in Wales at £1,043. Our income comes 53% from the general government grants. We get 20% from the redistribution of business rates, and the rest of our money has to come from council tax or earning it. Every council has priorities, and we are no exception. Our priorities are education, vulnerable people, and job opportunities, the creation of businesses. And feedback from events earlier in the autumn showed that everybody was comfortable with those priorities, and that you wanted to see more recognition, and the need to maintain local services was paramount. But with cuts like the ones we have to deal with, we cannot allow any department within the authority to go without any, or at least some, share of the burden. If we, for instance, completely ring-fence education, then there'd be an 18% reduction for the rest of the authority. If we apply that principle to vulnerable people, then there's a 31% impact on the rest of the authority, which would make services undeliverable. So everybody has to take their share. In the previous events that we've had, people said that they would pay for recycling bags and waste bags. We don't require anybody to do that at the moment, although I wouldn't rule out that it could come up sometime in the future, but we'll certainly be stopping the free issue of grey bags for residual waste. Everybody in Monmouthshire has done a fantastic job with regards to recycling, and when your supply of grey bags runs out, we ask that you go back to buying black bags, but you'll still be restricted to 2 per fortnight. Along with those black bags, we'll be picking up the yellow contaminated waste bags, and that is, again, a change to the present system, and we will still be providing the yellow waste bags, but not collecting them with the same frequency as we previously were. We were asked to look at our employee terms and conditions, but we won't be doing that. We are not exactly the highest paying of local authorities. We value our staff very highly, and certainly won't be looking at their terms and conditions at the present time. We will be looking to integrate library services, one-stop shops, and any other services that can be conveniently located in one place, so that we can make savings through not having to have so many buildings to be supported where it's not necessary. And people wanted to know why leisure services weren't run as businesses. Well, to a certain extent they are, but we'll certainly be doing a lot more with regards to that. So we've put the budget proposals together for next year, and again I would invite people to come forward with any thoughts that they've got. You can always get hold of us via the website, and assess how the changes will impact on you, and let us know if there's any particular hardship so that we can consider it. I said earlier that we had to raise 27% of our money from changing services, and we will be looking very much at the way that we look at raising money where we can. I've just flicked through some of the items, and I'll go through them again now in a more leisurely pace. We will be looking at creating more money out of leisure services. I said earlier on that we will be looking at running them more commercially. We'll certainly be doing that, and we'll be looking to make additional income as set out in this slide. So leisure services, housing and care line services, museums, business recycling, highways advertising, and additional markets, together with additional training courses offered by the youth service, will be ways that we'll be looking to raise money. We will also be making savings in the back office. Some £500,000 has been identified, despite many years of making increased amounts of savings. We still think that we can make savings in that way. Our leisure services will also be run differently. Tourism and museum service, again, working differently and finding ways of delivering the service at a lower figure. We'll also be working with individuals and families and communities to find better ways of supporting vulnerable people in a more targeted way. And in doing that, we find that not only can we improve the service that we give, but we can also save money by doing it that way. And Gwent Music charges, that's a decision made last year, and we will be continuing with that. And Gwent Music are making great strides in coping with the reduction in the subsidy, although the subsidy that we give is still considerable. We'll be changing the way that we provide services. Waste, route optimisation will give us savings. The incineration of waste instead of sending it to landfill, and various other changes within that service will save some 740,000. We will regretfully be spending less money on highways. Unfortunately, that has to be, but we'll try and target highways work so that we get the best benefit out of it. And those community hubs that we were saying about, libraries, one-stop shops and other services, will deliver another £250,000 worth of savings. Town and community councils are being requested to take on services that they particularly value, and they're being asked to look at ways that they can assist us in making sure that those services are still provided in their area. We'll be looking at school transport. We need to move to statutory distances. Monmouthshire has traditionally been more generous than it needed to be from a statutory point of view, and given the scale of the cuts that we now have to cope with, we have to move to statutory distances. And we will also be continuing to look at the removing of discretionary elements in post-16 home to school transport. Some additional work needs to be done with regards to the delivery of additional learning needs provision through mainstream schools, and there will be savings made there. But it's not all cuts and raising money. We will be investing money in children's social services. Some 900,000 is being made available there, and there will also be additional investment in adult social care. We'll be continuing with our 21st Century Schools programme in Caldicot and Monmouth initially, and those projects will be starting any minute, together with the primary school in Raglan, which is substantially underway. We will be holding our funding to schools at last year's level, albeit schools with reducing numbers will see reductions in their budget. But we are transferring some additional responsibility to schools, and they're working with us to cope with that additional burden. But we will be retaining our 4 leisure centres, we'll be retaining our youth service, adult and community education services, and our library and one-stop shop services will remain in all towns, albeit that there'll be a change in the delivery. So we've worked hard to minimise the impact on services. We still have a long way to go. If we deliver all of those changes, we will still need to raise £400,000 to close the gap for 15-16. So we have no option. Council tax will go up. We've been working on an assumption that it will rise by 3.95%, and that would generate 1.4 million. But unfortunately, we do need to raise that additional £400,000. So we will be recommending to full council that council tax goes up by 4.95%. And residents looking at this presentation will be able to look at their housing band and see what the effect of a 4.95% charge will be on your council tax. Bearing in mind that this is the Monmouthshire County Council element of the council tax bill, there will be a slight adjustment to these figures for police and town and community council precepts. So a band D residents will have an increase of about £1 a week, and somebody in, say, a band H will have an increase of about £2 a week. Consultation is coming to an end, but that is the formal period. We're still happy to listen to any representations that anybody wants to make over that period. We'll be having the debate on the final budget proposals in councils on the 22nd of January, and council tax will be set at the end of February. So thanks very much for listening to this session, and we look forward to any correspondence that comes in as a result. Thank you very much.